Hello everybody, my name is Roxandra and welcome to the latest R&R Partners video. Today we're going to talk about how you can rent an apartment or a house in Bucharest. The first thing that the clients usually ask us is there a problem if I am a foreigner? And the answer is no. You can rent an apartment in Bucharest even if you are a foreigner, either a non-EU citizen or a European citizen, it doesn't matter. Usually, owners ask for you to pay the rent twice when you rent an apartment. The second part of the rent is actually a warranty, a deposit, and it is used when you leave the place either to cover the last rent, or if you have any damages made in the apartment, the owners can use that amount to cover the existing damages. You might know that in other countries such as the US or UK, you might need a big deposit or somebody to vouch for you, or maybe the credit score if you want to rent an apartment, but in Romania none of these things matter. The second part of renting a home is usually finding one. Here as lawyers we cannot really help you, you can find a real estate agent to help you with that. But there are a couple of websites you can find where you can find very good apartments. For example, OLX, OLX is one of them, and imobiliare.ro. Those sites are usually the ones that are mostly used by Romanians and people from our country when they want to get a home either to rent or to actually purchase. And the third step of renting the place is actually signing the lease agreement. You must be really careful that this lease agreement should actually be in writing. You cannot just have a conversation with the owner and then just go into the place. You should have it in writing, and preferably this lease agreement, given that you are a foreigner, should be also in English, or at least the owner or a translator should explain to you the exact clauses, so know that what you are getting yourself into. Because there are some lease agreements that might have special clauses. For example, you might have certain obligations as a person who is renting the place, or there might be some penalties, big penalties, which you should know about from the very beginning. Also, a thing that we saw in many contracts is that when people actually want to get out of the contract, they should know how they can do that. For example, if they must give a notice or not. For example, a 30 days notice is very used, or if they just can leave the place any moment they want. Another very important thing is to see exactly when you have to pay the lease, of course the amount of the lease, and if you pay it with a few days late, how you must pay the penalties, the amount of the penalties, because penalties over penalties can amount to quite a big sum. Another very important thing you should know is in which cases you can be evicted, because there are some cases in which the owner can just come and say that they want you out of the place. It can either be cases when you actually did something wrong in the place, or they just want to terminate the lease before the contractual term is over. What you should also be very careful about is that when you actually pay the rent monthly, you should have some sort of receipt from the owner. There are two cases which you should be careful about. First, when you pay cash. When the owner actually wants to come to your place and receive the money cash from you, they should give you something in writing, like a little receipt, at least something written by their own hands, saying that they received the amount from you for the exact month. For example, the month May or April, it doesn't matter. It should also be very clear the month for which you are paying. If you do it the second way, which is preferable, by bank transfer, then of course you will have the proof from your bank that you already paid the owner, and in case anything happens, it's very easy to show that your rent is up to date. Another thing that we saw with rent, and is quite common, is how do you get your warranty back at the end of the rent? Of course, if you pay the warranty at the beginning and there are no damages to the apartment, you should get your warranty in full at the end of the rent. The second rent that we were talking about at the beginning of the video. But we saw some cases in which the owners just said that you had some repairs that had to be done at the place, or there were some outstanding bills. In all these cases, you should be very careful that when you pay your bill, As with the rent, you should have the receipt so you can prove later that you actually paid all your bills and everything is up to date. That is about everything that we're going to talk today about rent. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below and we will answer to you shortly. Do not forget to subscribe to our channel because we have an upcoming video which might be of great interest for you as well. How do you purchase an apartment in Bucharest? What you should be careful about in such cases? And how do you actually sign this kind of contract? Those are very important things which as an expat or even as a Romanian you should know from the very beginning. Also, don't forget to follow us. You have all the details down below in the description. We are very active on Facebook, Instagram and LinkedIn. And up until next time, have an awesome day. Bye bye.